What's up guys, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how you can create this really cool looking abstract loop using Blender. We're going to be using the modifier stack for most of the effect, so let's get started. So we're here in an empty blend file, so let's go ahead and delete the default cube. I'm going to add in a plane, and this will just be our ground plane. So I'm going to scale this up, just, about there. We can change it later. I'm going to go into edit mode and subdivide this plane a few times, just like that. And once I've done that, I'm going to add a displacement modifier, displace modifier, create a new texture, and let's just do this ground. Next, over in the texture tab, I'm going to change this to clouds. And out of edit mode, I can see what it's doing. If I set it to shade smooth, and then drop the scale, and drop the strength, and now I'm going to add a few more subdivisions, drop the strength a little bit more, and we can tweak that later if we need to. The next step is I'm going to add in a curve, and make sure it's a circle. I'm going to hide my ground plane. Now I'm going to add in a cube, scale it on the X or Y axis, it doesn't matter. I'm going to scale it on the Z axis now, just like so. So it has a little bit of thickness, but not a whole lot. Now the next thing I'm going to do is add in a loop cup down the middle, then in vertex select mode, select these two vertices and move them along the X axis. Now this doesn't look great at the moment, so I'm going to add in a subdivision surface modifier. Make sure to apply the scale. I'm going to increase the levels in the viewport. And then I'm going to add in a support. Support loop here. And a support loop there. And the next step is shade smooth. But I'm going to scale it down a bit more on the Z-axis. And now that's done. That's like our prong or our fin or whatever you want to call it. If you want, you can make it a bit longer or a bit thinner. I'm going to make it a bit thinner because I think that looks cooler that way. Added an array modifier and set it to constant offset. And then change the X value to 0 and the Y value to 1. I'm going to give it a bunch of iterations. Probably going to change the Y value a bit so things are close together. Next step is giving this a curve modifier. Make sure to select the Bezier circle as our curve object. And now you can see we've already got a cool effect coming into place. Like this could be, anything you want really. But what we want to add is a simple deform modifier. So go ahead and do that and just drag it up a bit so it's above the curve. Now, to be fair, you can probably set this to any mode you want and still get cool results, but I'm going to set it to twist. And the axis to, I think X should be okay for now. I'll reduce the twist amount. Now if I rotate this on the X axis, and then I rotate it on the Z, we're starting to get some cool shapes. And next thing is just rotating that circle around the Z axis. I can change the scale of the circle for more rotations, added a camera, and you're done. So that's pretty much the main effect, but I'm going to go on and set up a render and show you how you can turn it into an animation. I'm going to change the resolution of my camera to 2048 by 2048. I like a square image. Now make sure to kind of center your camera. I did this by using Shift S with my camera selected and snapping it to the world origin or cursor and then moving it up on the Z axis. Now you can already see we've got some pretty mesmerizing things happening here. But let's say we want to make this into an animation. So all we got to do is add in a keyframe for the cube's rotation. Then about 60 frames in, we're going to rotate the cube again and add another keyframe, and then duplicate our first keyframe and move it 120 frames in to create our loop. Now this is looking a bit boring, so let's change our interpolation method of the keyframes to something like bounce, which will give it a bit of life. So select the keyframes, press T, and change it to bounce. Also, don't forget to change your end frame to 120. Now give it a funky material. I'm going to give it some metal, add in a few lights. I'm going with purple and blue, and render it out. If you want, you can duplicate it, move it down, and give it another material. This will give it sort of a glowing effect. If you unhide that plane we made earlier and move it down, you'll give yourself a nice gradient backdrop. Turn on motion blur, then in the compositing tab, add a denoiser. That pretty much finishes it off for this video. So if you make anything cool, make sure to let me know by tagging me on Instagram. As always, I hope you found something useful in this tutorial, and you can always check out some of my other videos here. My socials are in the description, and I'll see you next time.